My name is Shaylee Sundby, and I am a student of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Throughout this quarter, I have had the pleasure of listening to each and every single one of you give these really heartfelt and funny and real presentations on each of these habits. And I've tried my best to be able to contribute to this class in the best way I can through my presentations. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was the first one to give a presentation in this class. I gave it on habit number 1, being proactive. And in that presentation, I told you guys about my story as a baker and about the story of me learning how to make sugar cookies. My next presentation was on habit number 4, thinking win-win. And I told you guys from a business perspective how I try to create win-win relationships with my clients. My next presentation was on habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And in that presentation, I tried to get a little bit more relatable and talk about my journey trying to overcome acne and how it could have been prevented with a simple visit to the dermatologist if it would have gone differently. And so when I was creating this presentation, I was asking myself what I wanted to talk about, what I want to talk about for my 4th and my final presentation. Well, I decided I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about me and how these 7 habits are important to me, and I want to tell you guys about the 3 habits that I'm trying to work on now so that I can have a successful future. So let's just recap quickly. Let's take a step back. What are the 7 habits that we learned about this quarter? Well, habit number 1 is being proactive. How can I make proactive decisions today so I can have a better future? How can I not be reactive? Habit number 2 is beginning with the end in mind, which I viewed as goal setting, which I'm going to talk about later in this speech. Habit number 3 is putting first things first. What are my priorities? What do I put first in my life? What do I put second in my life? Habit number 4, thinking win-win. How can I create win-win relationships with everyone in my life? How can I seek that third alternative? Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. How can I make my communication skills better? How can I deepen my relationships with people? Because people, of course, are our greatest asset in this world. Habit number 6, synergy. How can I relate to people? How can I connect with people so we can create something amazing together? And finally, habit number 7, how can I make sure that I sharpen my saw? How can I make sure that I still stay motivated to work on the first 6 habits? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have 20 minutes today to tell you about how I'm going to apply each of these habits in my life. I only have 6 to 8. Otherwise, I'll get penalized, which I don't want. So I'm just going to tell you about 3. I'm going to tell you about the 3 habits I'm trying to work on right now in my life. And that is beginning with the end in mind. When I read this chapter, I immediately was thinking goal setting. And I remember when typing for the discussion that week, there was the comment that was brought up that it was kind of morbid to think about your death, which it is. It's sad and it's morbid to think about your death. But maybe it's just something we have to think about, because because I don't want to live a life where I end it and I'm sad. You know, I want to be somewhere. I want to live the life that I want, and I want to live the life that I deserve. But in order to get there, I need to know where I'm going, and I need to start making goals right now. When I was doing one of the extra credit opportunities for this classroom, I read an article that talked about START goals and that talked about SMART goals. START goals are theme-centered and they have no plan, and you need to develop those START goals into your SMART goals. For example, one of the destinations I know I want to go is I want to live in England. That is a START goal. It has a theme, but it doesn't have a plan. So how can I turn that into a SMART goal? How can I make that better so I might actually get there one day? I need to make it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Specific, I know I want to live in either Manchester, Cornwall, or Outer London. That's how specific I am. Measurable, I can measure it by whether or not I'm actually living there, so that one's pretty obvious. Attainable, it's not like I'm asking you to Mars or Jupiter or anything. I can move to England, it's a thing that can happen. Realistic, people move countries all the time. And time-bound, I want to move there in 5 years. I just turned my START goal into a SMART goal. And now I know where I'm going, I know how I'm going to get there, and I'm being proactive in doing so. The next habit that meant a lot to me was thinking win-win. And immediately when I thought of a win-win situation, I thought of a clownfish and a sea anemone. Quick biology lesson. Sea anemones have these harpoon-like stingers at the end of their tentacles. So what happens is that when predators come towards these sea anemones, they get stung pretty bad, and they don't ever usually go near them again. That is why clownfish, this is why they're a perfect home for a clownfish, because clownfish have a layer of mucus around their skin, 3 to 4 times thicker than other fish, that allows them to be able to withstand these stingers. And it also provides them protection, because clownfish are easy prey for predators because they're brightly colored and they don't have any other defense mechanisms. This is an example of a win-win relationship in nature. This habit is literally woven into nature, and that is why this one is so important to me. I thought to myself, how can I connect into this force? If it binds animals together, it can bind us together too. I need to work at creating those relationships with people. If I just take more time to seek those third alternatives, imagine that what I can create with people. It'd be amazing. We might even achieve synergy. As you guys can see, this habit hit me pretty hard. It was really important to me when I read it. And I thought, how am I going to stay motivated to try to work on this habit? How am I going to stay motivated to work on all my other habits? Well, that's when I read habit number 7, and suddenly it made all sense to me, sharpening the saw. This habit was all about motivation to me, because these habits, like I said, they're so important to me. And I know they're important to all of you in different ways. How am I going to stay motivated though? That's where you sharpen your saw. And Covey talks about the 4 dimensions in which you need to sharpen it. Your physical saw, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual. Do the things that help you to remind you why you want to live, why you want to be happy, why you're doing things in the first place. For me, that's baking, cooking, and reading. When I bake and when I cook, I feel all of those dimensions inside of me. I'm happy, I am working on myself, and that means something. I like the physical aspect of chopping vegetables and kneading dough. I like the mental aspect of trying to fix a recipe if it sucks. It's almost spiritual in this sense when I'm doing everything and I just out-of-body experience almost when I create something I love. And the social aspect of when I share something I love with others who also like it, or at least tell me if they like it. And then reading is also an experience like that for me. When I read a good book, it's almost like a cerebral experience. I get out the highlighters, I get out the sticky notes, I get out everything. This habit is so important to not forget, because without this habit, we're just going to burn out on all the other ones. Ladies and gentlemen, I said that at the end of this speech, you were going to understand why these habits are important to me, and I think you understand that today. I hope you understood it through every single one of my speeches in this quarter, because I've really put a lot into them. I really appreciate all the work you put into your speeches as well. Thank you guys for being a really great class this quarter. Thank you.